It is not often that we get to introduce you to a new garden that you can visit, and I am delighted to be here. I'm standing here with Jay, and we are at the Garden of Gentle Breeze. Is that correct?
Yes, it
okay.
is. Yes,
and
it
I have
is.
to say, Jay, you know, we see a lot of different gardens, a lot of different plants. This is a lovely, lovely space, and Judy and I, all the way up the path here, we're going, look at the pruning on that. I mean, it's really quite charming. So I want to dig into your mind a bit and get, how did Japanese gardens just start within your own mind? What was that process?
Well, I studied abroad through an Oregon State University exchange program in Tokyo. I lived with a Japanese family that had a small Japanese garden, and the father taught me calligraphy, the mother taught me tea ceremony, and
Wow.
the sister taught me flower arranging. So I fell in love with Japanese aesthetic.
Because that really was an immersion of their culture
really,
then, wasn't it?
A year
Yeah.
of the language and the aesthetic arts.
Yeah. So now, in making this garden and creating this space, is it your own, like, did you draw it out? Did you have help? What was the process in beginning that?
No, we're really lucky in Corvallis. We've got a man who specializes in designing and laying out Japanese gardens. We have probably the premier rhododendron company that you can buy a 25 or 30-year-old rhododendron here.
Wow.
And we have an excellent source for these stones. And so just within 10 miles, I could get the ingredients I needed. I didn't have the vision, I just had the back.
Yeah, yeah.
And I did the wheelbarrowing.
And sometimes that's what it takes. You know,
Yes.
you got to do that stuff that you don't really want to do, but that you create this beauty. Now, in our conversations before we were filming today, we were talking about an example is right here. You've got really wild nature, and then the way that it is kind of stepped down into this very structured form, that was part of what you really intended to do in this space right here.
Yes, this garden's about 7 years old. It used to be a driveway, so there was nothing here at the time except a flat space.
Yeah.
And the formal garden has ingredients that you must have
Yes.
to make it a proper garden. And then over the years, I've expanded in various directions, and one of them was to civilize Mother Nature a little bit from the bank that direction.
So when you were creating these garden spaces, even in your own mind, what were some of the most important things that you wanted to make sure were here?
Well, we have to have symbols of the four elements,
Yes.
earth, air, water, fire, and we need symbols of the concept of yin and yang.
Yeah.
So those elements must be in any one of the four formal gardens. And there are certain plantings. There have to be pines, something flowering, bamboo, and maples.
Because that really is the philosophy of Japanese garden. That's part of the gardening.
Yes, the Buddhist monks created these gardens, so they're essentially and historically they came out of the philosophy of Buddhism.
Nice. Now, tell me about, there's a walking garden too, is that what
There's
you call
a
it?
strolling garden.
Strolling garden.
Yes.
Tell me about that and the beautiful structure that's there.
The strolling garden is in the forest, and so it's a collaboration with nature. We work with what she's done, and we add to it, and we
Sure.
take away what we don't need. And the unique feature of this garden is we have a really authentic Japanese-style caretaker's cottage.
Wow.
I imported the tiles from Japan for the roof. The building is called Japanese timber framing, and the materials were custom milled so it would be authentic to the period of about 100 years ago.
And you know, you're not, you have dreams still. You have some ideas for the future. You know, share briefly a couple of those ideas.
Well, long term, I'd like to have a building that could seat or house maybe 100 people.
Wow.
For year-round events. Teach calligraphy, flower arranging, tea ceremony, and sponsor events and host weddings, anniversaries, that sort of thing.
And you've got a special coming up for this Mother's Day, don't you?
Yes, on Mother's Day, mothers are always free and others are only $3.
That's adorable.
And this will be the third year. We have a very good response on Mother's Day.
Well, you know, there's so many places to see out here in the Pacific Northwest, but this is a treasure, simply a jewel that's hidden in the hills in Corvallis. And of course, they will always accept a donation or the very modest fee to come and see it. But it is really worth your time and the trip. It's a beautiful space. You can get inspired and you can breathe and take some time to think, I would like to put something like that in my own garden space. Let me tell you, it's been such a pleasure. Thank you so much for your time.
And thanks for coming. Really appreciate it.